It's an ACC showdown between Georgia Tech and North Carolina. So welcome to the plush Dean Dome, site of today's battle between Georgia Tech and North Carolina. And hello everyone, I'm James Brown. Third-ranked North Carolina comes into today's game quite mad. That's because they were the victims of one of the biggest upsets in college basketball, losing Thursday night to Wake Forest. Georgia Tech, on the other hand, they feel confident they can stop the streak of 4 consecutive wins by North Carolina over their team. Joining me for today's game is Hubie Brown, and while we all know you from the NBA, you've coached in the ACC and are very impressed with what Dean Smith has done here.
Well, I'll tell you, in his 27 years, James, this is the youngest and least experienced ball club that he's ever put on the floor. When your bench has 3 freshmen and 1 sophomore, you know you're going to have the inconsistency on defense and also rebounding. They've been out-rebounded 6 times to date. Even though they are 14-3, the 3 losses have been by a total of 6 points.
Georgia Tech is talented and solid with an overall record of 14-4, and coach, they've done that without a true center.
Well, they're very, very tough, very aggressive, James, quick. They're trying to get by with the premier big forward in the country, and Tommy Hammonds at 6'9" at that center position, but he's helped by Dwayne Farrell, the second leading scorer in the league at 19 a game, and then the much heralded 6'8" high school player of the year last year in Oakton, Virginia, Dennis Scott, who was averaging not only 14 points, but right at the top as a 3-point shooter.
So it's an ACC battle between Georgia Tech and North Carolina here in Tar Heel country. We'll be back with a tip-off in just a moment.
CBS Sports presents college basketball. Today's game between the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets and the North Carolina Tar Heels is sponsored by AT&T, the right choice. Mercedes-Benz, engineered like no other car in the world. And by Express Mail overnight service.
Back here with a near-capacity crowd at the Dean Smith Center here on the campus of North Carolina. Head coach Bobby Crimmins of Georgia Tech. In 7 years, he's made them a team to be reckoned with in the ACC. The front court starters, Dwayne Farrell, the team's leading scorer, flanked by Dennis Scott, sensational freshman out of Oakton, Virginia, and Tom Hammonds in the middle at 6'9". The backcourt, Brian Oliver, good rebounding guard, and Craig Neal, the much-improved point guard. Dean Smith, the most successful active coach in college basketball today in his starting lineup. J.R. Reed, of course, the dominating big man in all of college basketball. Steve Bucknall and Scott Williams. And the backcourt will be Ranzino Smith, the only senior on the team, and Jeff Lebo. Now, there has been a change in the starting lineup. Rick Fox will be replacing Steve Bucknall in the starting lineup for North Carolina. And as you take a look at their home record, Coach, they're virtually unbeatable here at the Dean Smith Center.
Well, that's a staggering stat, James, but I think that the change in the lineup was a surprise to everyone. Dean is extremely high on Fox. He thinks he's a great potential player and a definite NBA guy.
Georgia Tech in the gold uniforms, controlling on the first offensive possession, stolen by Jeff Lebo. Lebo, the junior point guard for North Carolina. Carolina in the white. Inside to J.R., slapped away. Brian Oliver with the good defensive players, he slapped it away, and the foul is going to be whistled against J.R. Reed. His first personal foul, and Georgia Tech would love to get Reed in foul trouble.
Oh, this is a very feisty and pesty team. Georgia Tech might be giving away a lot of size, but they're extremely quick on the boards, and they're not afraid of the body contact.
No score, just underway. Craig Neal handling the ball for Georgia Tech. Dennis Scott with the ball now is Brian Oliver. This is Farrell.
They must establish an inside game here to loosen things up for the perimeter.
Good defense by Carolina. This is Scott, the freshman.
There you go.
And a three-pointer, Dennis Scott.
3 points, Dennis Scott.
Well, he's rivaling Jeff Lebo right now at 48 to 46% in the long three-point range shot.
And he leads the ACC in number of three-point field goals made this season. Georgia Tech on top 3-0, just underway. 18:54 remaining in the first half.
Carolina extremely patient, always one of the top field goal percentage teams in the league. They very rarely take a bad
up
shot.
Strong, and Reed draws the foul. It's going to be whistled against Dwayne Farrell. And Reed, just a real strong player on the inside.
He is extremely quick and also explosive. What I like about Reed is during the course of the game, if you watch his wide base before he catches the ball, he has a wide base, very soft hands. Once he makes the catch, he has a number of moves. He's every bit as good going to his left as to his right.
A 68% free throw shooter on the year. He's had a sensational year thus far, leading the ACC in scoring at 19-9. And Reed makes one of two, but gets the rebound. The long rebound goes to Carolina. Ranzino Smith for three. And Carolina is on top by one, 4-3.
Main thing for Georgia Tech is to set a tempo where they get the shot, the high percentage shot of their main three scorers.
This is Scott operating against Fox. Farrell goes up, and they called an offensive charge on Dwayne Farrell.
That was a tough angle right there. Farrell was behind the basket, and he tried to come back in, and he jumped into the chest of the defensive player. What we'll see during the course of the afternoon is any time that Georgia Tech takes the ball off the dribble to the baseline, you will see two Tar Heels, a minimum, trap him and get their hands up.
This is Scott Williams in for the slam, Carolina.
Well, that's the danger of trying to front the low post people. If you miss the pass, they're always going to be in a dunking position.
Scott Williams, a 6'10 sophomore, stolen by Carolina. This is Lebo. He's dangerous from three-point land.
Carolina has an excellent transition offense. Here they are right now. If things don't go in the initial stage of it, they go into their passing game.
Lebo from three-point territory. He can nail it. And Coach Crimmins said the first 5 minutes of this game would be extremely important for the Yellow Jackets. They found themselves down by double digits the last two times here last season. They trail by 6.
Ever since your post office invented express mail overnight delivery, others have tried to copy our Eagle. But it's not so easy.
We have an excellent example of what we're trying to prove to you. Once the ball goes in, here's Georgia Tech doubling really hard. And now when they kick out to Lebo or Ranzino, you have two of the better three-point shooters that we have in the ACC. Both guys are shooting over 40%.
A string of 9 straight points by Carolina has them on top by 6. And Rick Fox is going to be whistled for the foul. Fox, as we mentioned, a surprise starter, 6'7" freshman out of Nassau, Bahamas. Did not play last season, although he signed with Carolina as a senior in high school.
Oh, this is tough right here. Woo. Almost 5 seconds. Very, very close. You see, Carolina face guards you down in this defensive end of the floor, and they force you to come up and go over the top, just like that. You come to the ball, and then you're forced to lob. Got to make those.
And Craig Neal takes it to the basket. A blocking foul is whistled against J.R. Reed.
Neal would have been better off going in here right now and laying that up with his left hand. He would have had a higher percentage shot and a chance for a three-point play. It was a strong move, but by taking it with his right hand, he brought it back to the defense. It could have possibly been blocked.
So J.R. Reed picks up his second personal foul. And keep in mind that Georgia Tech, Dwayne Farrell, the team's leading scorer, has his second personal foul. He's on the bench. James Munlin, number 24, a 6'11 sophomore, is into the game.
With Munlin in the lineup now, Georgia Tech goes to their big bluff. Hammonds is back at the big forward position, and Scott at small forward.
Neal good on both of his free throws. It's a 9-5 ball game. Carolina on top. 17-14 remaining in the first half.
After a foul shot, Carolina pushes the ball, and they try to post up J.R. Reed. And then if it doesn't happen, they go into their passing game.
Georgia Tech, known as a scrappy defensive squad. This is Scott Williams. And Williams getting off the marker early.
I like it. It's excellent ball movement, James. And they're catching Georgia Tech 6 to 8 feet away from the offensive player. Easy shots.
Scott. Rebounded by James Munlin. Bobby Crimmins feels that if Munlin could become more aggressive and meaner inside, then Georgia Tech's answer in the center would be solved. Neal misses the three-pointer. This is Munlin.
Well, three-point shot always rebounds long. That's a fact of life. And they've had 2 of them now kick back out to them. But the shot is there.
Scott, one-on-one move. Rebounded by Jeff Lebo. J.R. Reed in the middle, and he's hammered. Brian Oliver with the foul as J.R. Reed showing some ball handling ability in the transition game.
Well, I think he handles the ball extremely well for a man his size. Not only can he take it from foul line to foul line, but when he's in traffic, if you notice, he did a little crossover move that time to set himself up to make the explosive move to the basket. That's what I like about the young man. The young man really has a confident presence from an offensive standpoint, and when he makes his move, it's always with strength.
Reed misses the first. Substitutes in the game for Carolina, number 20, Steve Bucknall, and number 21, King Rice. This is Reed's second offering, and he's 1 for 2 on this series. So it's a 12-5 Carolina lead. 16:06 left in the first half. Carolina with the full court press. Neal up to Scott. This is Munlin.
So that's a shot you don't want. That has to be a layup. Anytime you have a 3-on-1, 3-on-2 situation against Carolina, you've got to get the layup.
Brian Oliver.
2 points. Brian Oliver.
Averaging 12 points a game, nails it for Georgia Tech. Tech back in the zone. Rice's pass stolen.
This is where they're quick. This is their advantage. They might not have a bulky front line or a front line that you would consider a great rebounding team. As a matter of fact, for the year, they're -1 in rebounding, even though they have a 14-4 record. But they are extremely pesky and very feisty when the ball gets on the floor.
Position arrow favors Carolina. Dwayne Farrell, a bit of a gamble. He's back in the game for Georgia Tech, replacing Brian Oliver.
Well, what Bobby's trying to do here, he's trying not to get blown out early, and he wants Farrell, one of his best scorers, and the leading prime-time guy for him, to be on the floor at this time. He's going to gamble, but you are on the road.
And he mentioned the first 5 minutes being very important. His team is trailing by 5.
20 seconds on the shot clock.
This is King Rice with the ball. Point guard takes the shot. And 2 Georgia Tech players had the rebound and lost it. J.R. Reed capitalized.
Well, if you're coaching, you're not upset at all. Both of your kids went strong for the rebound. Just took a bad hop. I tell you, Neal is showing beautiful ability to beat the trap and then to penetrate inside that foul line.
Craig Neal with his second basket of the afternoon.
Well, you know, Neal's a 6'5" point guard. He has the advantage of looking over the top of the guards at Carolina.
Lebo for 3. And this is Reed. He owns underneath the boards.
Well, that was a strong rebound. That's what we say. That's a pressure rebound. When you go up in traffic and you get and your next move now is you read where the defensive people are and then you go strong. Once again, a Georgia Tech player reaching in to try to get the steal before J.R. Reed gets the ball up above his shoulders.
And as coaches teach so often, Hubie, it's not necessarily your leaping ability, but positioning, because J.R. Reed does not jump particularly well.
Well, when you think of the best rebounders in the NBA, you're talking about guys that really are position people versus vertical jumpers.
Reed 1 of 2 from the free throw line, having some difficulty. He's only 3 of 6 in the free throw category. His team leads it 15-9.
That's a great read right there.
And Tom Hammonds comes up with his first basket of the afternoon.
Neal read that double team at the half-court area, and anytime you're double team, you know that you have numbers up front.
Craig Neal, a much improved guard this year versus last. This is J.R. Reed. He continues to dominate underneath.
Well, Munlin has got to realize that when J.R. Reed is playing that center position, he's got to find him and not allow him to catch that easy lob pass in front of the rim.
He's got a height advantage over J.R. Why not front him?
Yeah, but oh, good. That was a great pass. And Farrell is definitely injured. He's limping back here. He's at the half-court mark right now.
Would have been an absolutely great play had he slammed it. This is Reed, and Reed is on fire. J.R. Reed on fire in the paint. Carolina with a 19-11 lead.
When you defense him, when he's facing the basket, he has the crossover move or the spin move.
This is Hammonds, and Hammonds, a 6'9" natural forward who's playing center for Georgia Tech, makes it a 6-point ball game.
Well, Hammonds must become active in there. He's got to make J.R. Reed play him. Wear him down a little bit from a defensive standpoint.
Reed has scored 7 straight points for North Carolina. He's got 9 on the afternoon. This is Bucknall. Hammonds, the rebound.
See, that time the zone made them take the shot, and fortunately they had 3 guys in position to rebound. But you must be conscious of J.R. Reed.
This is Hammonds. Hammonds wants the ball, and there's why.
The easiest place to feed a postman is in the painted area in front of the rim. And so far, we have seen both clubs looking for Hammonds and Reed on that spot.
Hammonds, an intense player, a lot of athletic talent. Lob to J.R. And J.R. with his 11th point of the game, 9th straight Carolina point.
See, if I'm Bobby Cremins, what I don't like right now is how easily they're getting the ball into Reed with just a straight pass.
Oliver, shots off the mark. This is Munlin.
Nice move by Munlin that time. I mean, he didn't have himself in good position for the shot, but if you notice so far, J.R. Reed is not trying to block any shots. So if I'm a front court player, I'm taking that ball right in his face.
And Lebo throws it away. Intended receiver was J.R. Reed. And as well as Carolina is playing, Georgia Tech trails by only 4.
After scrupulous examination, a leading consumer publication called it the best car we've ever tested. Road and Track judged that it may be the best sedan in the world.
We have the movement of the North Carolina offense versus the 2-3 zone. J.R. Reed is to the right of the lane. Now, here he is moving. Now, there is your lob pass right to the left corner of the board. Now, so that you as a fan can watch this, he is not starting out in the painted area. He was coming from the right side of the lane across, and the defense in the back of the zone is losing him. Right now, they're giving J.R. Reed a blow. He's on the bench, but he's not going to be there for long.
And his replacement is Pete Chilcutt, number 32, the 6'9" freshman from Utah, Alabama. This is Dennis Scott playing the point guard. Bobby Cremins likes the versatility of this prize freshman. This is Hammonds off the mark. Rebounded by Chilcutt.
Scott Williams' strength is shot blocking, and that time he was right up on Hammonds. He definitely challenged the release of that ball.
Pass intended for Chilcutt. Steve Bucknall passed a little too low. We call that a lone pass on the playground. Pass a little too low, you have to get it back.
Every time that ball goes into the post area on a bounce, you're going to see the Georgia Tech people doubling back in there. They're very feisty, pesky with their hands.
21-17 lead by Carolina.
Right now they're in a man-to-man.
Ranzino Smith lost it off of his foot on the dribble. Ranzino Smith, as you take a look, he's heavily wrapped on both thighs. The left thigh was the one that caused him the most problems.
Well, he has a deep thigh injury, and he was also hit in the forehead the other night against North Carolina State with 12 stitches, but he came out and played in the second half.
A leader by example, playing with pain. And Georgia Tech throws it away. J.R. Reed back into the game, replacing Chilcutt. So Reed, just a quick blow.
Just quick, but that's Carolina's style. When you play against Carolina, one of your biggest problems is that when you're in a man-to-man, that you constantly are aware of who you are guarding because they substitute so quickly. Ferro made a bad pass into the post that time because he passed the ball to a postman who did not call for the ball. Never get it in there unless the man is set.
And a 3-second call on Scott Williams, and he'll be on notice that Tom Hammonds has a defensive assignment guarding J.R. Reed. 2 big-bodied young men, but interestingly, they list both of them at 6'9", and there really seems to be no comparison height-wise. Hammonds seems to be smaller.
Well, he does, and he also plays a little bit smaller when you're talking about post-up action. Here's the Carolina trap. See, you cannot make that cross-court. They seal it off and do an excellent job.
Ranzino Smith misses the layup. Oliver on the rebound. This is Georgia Tech on the break. This is Anthony Sherrod. Reed with the rebound.
They're the ones you have to knock down. That side of the floor has been open all the time in the transition game.
Into Williams. Williams smartly didn't have the shot, kicked it back out front. The sophomore is maturing.
Very seldom will you see a Carolina player force a bad shot.
And Bucknall is fouled on the turnaround. Brian Oliver will be whistled for his second personal foul.
See, we can't bring this point out enough. That is about the 5th pass now into a Carolina player in front of the rim, one step. So when he catches that bounce pass in there, he is no more than 4 to 5 feet away from the goal. Now, if you allow him to catch it, he does not have to dribble a basketball, and he can take you strong. He's going to get his shot. So, from a Georgia Tech defensive standpoint, they must deny that pass.
Rick Fox and King Rice into the game for Carolina, out replacing Ranzino Smith and Jeff Lebo. So what might Smith be thinking here?
Well, if you're playing Carolina and you're in a 2-3 zone, you never have to worry about all of the substitutions. But when they keep substituting like this, James, your defensive assignments are constantly changing with a different look. It's a major negative.
23-17 lead by Carolina. 9:44 remaining in the first half. Craig Neal being defended by Rick Fox. J.R. Reed with the near steal. This is Scott from three-point territory. He's got it.
3 points, Dennis Scott.
Dennis Scott staying true to his accuracy from three-point range. And it's a three-point ball game. Williams inside once again. And Hubie again. The easy pass down low.
Well, they're not getting a good ball denial right now. But what I like about Georgia Tech is there's a hacking foul. And you know what's sad? Scott Williams does pick up an awful lot of, like little picky fouls. The young man has fouled out of 6 games, and in the 3 games that Carolina has lost, he was on the sidelines when they needed him at crunch time.
Well, you mentioned that Coach Dean Smith and Bill Guthridge, his longtime assistant to the left you just saw there, indicated that Williams will be a good NBA pro later in his career. And Williams comes up with the steal.
Nice
Reed
move.
tried to force it. Gets it back.
That was a tough play from Georgia Tech's defense because they got back fast. Their transition defense was excellent that time. And to lose a free ball. See, Fox is very aggressive, James. Anytime that his man picks the ball up, you'll see him belly right up to the man, chest to chest, and he will put his long arms up and increase the degree of passing angle on that offensive player.
Anthony Sherrod out. Back in Dwayne Farrell. So it's Farrell, Hammonds, Oliver, Neal, and Dennis Scott for Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech needs a good shot opportunity right now.
Farrell and Bucknall, the 6'6 junior from London, England, with the rebound. This is King Rice. Talent-wise, the best point guard on this Carolina team, but just a freshman.
Right now, Georgia Tech back in their 2-3 zone, and it is very compact.
Bucknall. And Fox with a good effort couldn't find the basket. This is Oliver. Oliver goes around Bucknall. Scott misses the follow, but Farrell taps his miss in.
You know what was interesting about that? I know when they missed the dunk, you're saying, oh my, what a tough play, except for one thing. Farrell did not get discouraged. He went right after the rebound, puts it back in, and gets fouled.
Farrell has played some excellent basketball over the last 10 games, averaging 21 points and 7 rebounds. The team's leading scorer, 19-4 games, second leading scorer in the ACC.
I think Dean Smith will tell you that this team is not one of his quickest ball clubs. So you can, if you can get to turn them over, push that ball hard. Right away now, Georgia Tech, first time in a 2-2-1 half-court trap. Forcing the turnover.
This is Hammonds. Rebounded by Farrell. And is he called for the push-off? That he is. So Dwayne Farrell picks up his 3rd personal foul, that coming with 7:53 remaining in the first half. So Farrell obviously will have to leave the game.
Well, that's going to be a big loss from now to the end while they're trying to keep this one close.
While some still believe you can't...
James Brown along with Hubie Brown, and we're live here in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, where the Tar Heels have a 4-point lead over Georgia Tech, 27-23. And, Coach, although Dwayne Farrell, the leading scorer for Georgia Tech, is in foul trouble, is Georgia Tech accomplishing what it wanted to do against Carolina?
Oh, I like their game plan. They got burned early in the 2-3, but now what they're doing is they're showing you a man-to-man and a half-court 2-2-1, and they're forcing Carolina to read rather than just come down and take advantage of the set 2-3 zone.
Bobby Crimmins, in his 7th season at Georgia Tech, has made this team a squad to be reckoned with, not only in the ACC, but as a national power. His team trails by 4, 7:45 remaining in the first half.
Right now, Georgia Tech in a man-to-man. There's your double team, though, from the top of the circle.
King Rice and Munlin tried to tap it out to Craig Neal.
See, they're going to make Rice prove that he can score. He's only shooting 32% from the floor right now, so they're going to pack off of him. You see where Oliver's playing him right now. He's giving him 8 feet so that he can be in a double-team situation.
Tommy Hammonds defending J.R. Reed. That's a good matchup there. Reed, he gets it. J.R. Reed, 6 of 6 from the floor. Has 15 points, that all in the first half. Munlin, and he walked.
That's a young man who was just, the indecision, you could see it as soon as he made the catch. He really wasn't sure which way he wanted to go. But if I were him, I would take J.R. Reed to the hole every single time. I would make J.R. Reed prove to me that he's going to block my shot.
The lineup for Carolina: Bucknall, Williams, Reed, Lebo, and Ranzino Smith.
See, Munlin at 6'11" must get his hands up in the air.
Smith from 3-point territory.
Come on, you cannot allow Lebo and Ranzino Smith to stand there and, you know, aim it up and then take the shot.
And it's a 9-point Carolina lead. This is Dennis Scott forcing the shot, gets his own rebound. Carolina on the break.
Well, that shot was changed by Scott Williams, who was right up there trying to block.
Smith from 3-point territory again.
See, there's the numbers. There it is, right there. Yes.
And Hammonds, although pushed by Ranzino Smith, still had the body control to lay it in.
He was on that, James, no doubt about it. What I like is that if Georgia Tech on the misses will just get the ball out and look up the floor, they have a 2-on-1, 3-on-2.
Neal, good defense on Lebo. Scott Williams from the wing. Rebounded. Brian Oliver. Oliver, a good rebounding guard. Georgia Tech looks to be spreading their offense a bit more.
Well, they're looking to post up in a transition game. And what I like is Craig Neal is doing an excellent job. He's not turning the ball over, and he's not forcing the action.
Bucknall, good defense on Scott.
Nice, man.
And Hammonds with the thunderous slam, unselfish play by Dennis Scott.
So you can get inside of that Carolina defense off the dribble and force them to double team you. They're excellent in rotating.
Bucknall finally nails one from the free throw line. It's a 34-27 Carolina lead. 4:51 remaining in the first half. And one of the things that Coach Crimmins likes about Dennis Scott is he's unselfish. But he's called for walking that time.
Well, this is an offense that Coach Crimmins put in yesterday, and they worked real hard on any time that a wingman in their offense is overplayed, they have him going back door. That was a beautiful pass by Neal. Unfortunately, the catch by Scott, all he had to do was dribble it once, and he had an uncontested layup.
Pete Chilcutt in for Carolina.
The main thing for the Georgia Tech players is to understand that it's there.
And Rice missed from 3-point territory. Bucknall with good hustle, but Tech recovers. And Coach, you said Tech is going to give Rice that shot all day long.
Oh, he's got to make it. Nice move. Oh,
and they call a foul, or is it a travel?
Well, he called a travel, but from my angle, I honestly thought he was bumped into a travel.
But nonetheless, Carolina comes away with it. Georgia Tech's 11th turnover of the game. Bucknall, easy shot. J.R. Reed controlling the boards on the inside. This is Chilcutt.
Georgia Tech is determined to keep all 5 guys in that painted area defensively.
And Chilcutt takes it to the basket. And James Munlin will be whistled for the foul.
Foul is on James.
So it's a 7-point lead by North Carolina. Dwayne Farrell, the leading scorer of Tech, in foul trouble. J.R. Reed having a fantastic afternoon from the field, 6 of 6. And Carolina as well, 57% from the field.
Well, that's normal. Right. I mean, everyone sees that, James, all right? Year in and year out. This ball club, they always take good shots. Chilcutt sat out last season. As a freshman a year ago, he came in, received an injury early in the preseason, and then never came back. So they sat him out, redshirted him. And the young man is making a heavy contribution off the bench for UNC.
The great American race, the Daytona 500.
48 remaining. Now the third member of our broadcast crew today is a former linebacker from the ACC. He'll be handling our halftime show, and that's Tim Brandt.
James, coming up in our halftime show on College Basketball Report, we'll bring you up to date on all the scores and highlights from the top teams throughout the country. We'll also introduce you to the only unbeaten team in Division I men's basketball, and then we'll take it to San Diego for a Super Bowl report. Back to you, James.
All right, Timmy. And we look forward to that and more coming up on the College Basketball Report at halftime.
Right now we see Carolina, their first time in a set 2-3 zone.
And Hammonds cuts into Carolina's biggest lead of the game and makes it 7. It's 36-29.
Right now, Georgia Tech playing man-to-man.
And Ranzino Smith is caught for holding.
Well, that time away from the ball, when the ball was reversed, Carolina had what we call a back pick on the weak side, and the player came off of it free. Unfortunately, Ranzino Smith was called for holding.
And Carolina, with the 17th foul, that will send Anthony Sherrod to the free throw line. Sherrod had to actually bulk up and gain a little more strength over the summer. That with the arrival of Dennis Scott taking his spot from the outside, and Sherrod gives Tech a little more rebounding along the front line.
Well, they really enjoy this young man's ability to give them a perimeter game. He has an excellent jump shot. He gives them size, and then he forces you to play the inside people honest. It gives them another threat.
And Sherrod 1 of 2, but Scott on a rebound. Off the glass, Dennis Scott. So it's back to a 4-point ball game. 36-32.
Here's your trap, 2-2-1.
Smith. And Ranzino Smith cannot be left alone.
Yeah, but you see, anytime that you trap 2-2-1 and you do not get a trap, which they didn't that time, you're vulnerable from the wing area, especially down in the corner. And that's what opened up that time for Ranzino.
Well, Coach Smith was hoping that Georgia Tech would press them and trap them today. He felt very confident in handling that.
Well, we'll see as the game runs on and the pressure mounts. Nice pass.
Sherrod. And you mentioned he has an outside shot. He nails it there.
Well, anytime that you penetrate on the baseline, you know Carolina's going to double team you, and that's what happened. But the foul line area will open up. You must make that pass. Craig Neal just got knocked to the floor that time and hurt his ankle. Yeah, he's limping right now. This is an injury that Georgia Tech could not afford.
Neal has really improved in his play as a point guard. Matter of fact, he leads the team in assists and is only 17 shy of Mark Price's all-time total of 510 career assists. So he's playing very smart, turnover-free basketball this year.
Well, what I like about that I'm seeing in the young man is he's aggressive with the ball, James. He's challenging the Carolina defense. He's not allowing Lebo to level him off and make him reverse. He's making him hard.
Tech does not have any depth at the point guard position. This is Hammonds. Rebounded by Oliver. And goaltending is going to be whistled on Scott Williams. So Brian Oliver, who's had 13 rebounds to his credit this year against North Carolina A&T, doing the job on the offensive boards, and it's a 2-point game.
Oh, they like Oliver. Oliver is an excellent leaper. He's 6'4", and even though he plays the guard position, that's why Bobby can go with the small team, because of his rebounding ability.
And Craig Neal will be whistled for the foul.
Well, Bobby Cremins is all upset that time at Neal because he did not beat his man to the spot, and then he complicated the situation by reaching in and grabbing on that. That's the only reason, not in the effort. The effort was there. He was just a half a step late.
Might not that be a symptom of fatigue?
Well, I don't think so. I feel that this young man is giving you quality minutes.
He's getting some good pressure from the Carolina press. 1:44 remaining. Carolina on top by 2. This is Craig Neal.
Carolina man-to-man right now.
This is Dennis Scott.
Carolina insists on fronting all of the low post people. That opens up the lob pass. That was a forced shot by Scott.
Bucknall doing a good job of smothering Scott. And comes down and scores on the other end. Steve Bucknall with his 6th point of the game.
Strong move, and what I liked about it is he banked the shot. He's allowing the board to help him on that. Ooh, bad pass. Try never to pass off the dribble in traffic, especially with the big men rotating to you. Referee called my time. Right now we have Bucknell was hit in the jaw.
6'6" junior from London, England, and Bucknall had an opportunity to have his parents see him play in 2 exhibition games that Carolina played in London in the month of December.
Well, when this young man, he's a late starter in basketball. He played on the English junior team, and then now he's on the national team.
Sherrod gets his own rebound, but Lebo takes it away. With 50 seconds remaining in the first half, this is Lebo to the hoop, and it's blocked by Hammonds. Chilcutt with the foul.
See, Georgia Tech is getting caught with 3 guys on the ball sometime. You never want to discourage that because your kids are working hard defensively. Unfortunately, if the shot goes up, you're weak on the board. Here's the Carolina trap. They're going to run the clock and try to get the last shot. There's 25 seconds on the clock.
Pete Chilcutt made 3 crucial mistakes in Thursday night's loss to Wake Forest, but he's out here playing as if he's forgotten it.
Georgia Tech holding the ball. It's down to 13 seconds. Got to watch that trap now. Inside of 10, 8 seconds. 5.
This is Oliver.
You have 1 second.
And that's the end of the first half with the score. North Carolina 42, Georgia Tech 36. Tim Brandt will return with the college basketball report after this message and a word from your local station.
CBS Sports presents college basketball. Today's game is sponsored by Mazda, bringing performance and value together. That's the Mazda way.
Is KTVQ Billings, the news station.
CBS Sports presents college basketball. Today's game is sponsored by Michelob. So exceptionally smooth, the night belongs to Michelob. Mr. Goodwrench. No one knows your GM car better than Mr. Goodwrench. No one. And by the heartbeat of America, today's Chevrolet.
Back here at the Dean Dome, the Tar Heels on top of the Yellow Jackets 42-36. And Coach, this is a very important ACC game for both teams. Carolina tied for second place with 3 teams at a mark of 3-2. Georgia Tech in back of the pack with a mark of 2-2. But in the first half, one of the main reasons Carolina's ahead is their 57% field goal percentage.
Now, the shots are there. They're getting everything that they want. Everything is in the painted area, and it's going to lead to a high field goal percentage. They also have 7 offensive rebounds. And Reed has been terrific. He's gotten 4. He's putting them right back in the basket. He's 6 for 6 from the field and doing an outstanding job for his ball club.
And believe it or not, J.R. Reed has shot 75% from the field in his last 11 games. But, Coach, you mentioned that Georgia Tech really doesn't have too much to complain about because they have been getting the shots that they want.
Georgia Tech is getting everything at the foul line area and on the left wing. Wide open shots. So I'm happy. Both coaches are a little nervous because they're getting beat on their defensive board. They have both given up 8 offensive shots, so they know that's a weakness. But if I'm Georgia Tech and Bobby Cremins, I'm happy I've solved my problem in my zone. I'm showing you man-to-man. I'm showing you half-court trap, 2-2-1, and it's all working. And I did all this without my best player, Ferrell, who's got in foul trouble and only has 3 points to this day.
And Dwayne Ferrell only played 10 minutes total out of that 20 minutes first half.
Oh, nice.
This is Hammonds on the inside, Tom Hammonds. So Georgia Tech comes out and scores quickly.
That was a beautiful pass, and more important, an excellent post-up by Hammonds. When he received the pass, nothing to do but score. He's now 7 for 10 in the game.
Lebo rebounded by Ferrell.
Georgia Tech's got to look up the floor, James. The pass is there.
A 4-point game. This is Dennis Scott. He can make it a 1-point game. And Ramzino Smith with the rebound. Smith, three-pointer. In and out. Williams.
See, they're tough. When you concentrate in blocking Reed off the board, you still have to contend with Scott Williams. An excellent offensive rebounder, and at the defensive end in the shot blocking department.
Scott Williams doing the job today. 4 of 5 from the field. He's got 8 points. And Williams, his old tendency, foul prone.
Yeah, but that's that backdoor cut. Georgia Tech is taking the people from the low post area, flashing them to the foul line. As North Carolina overplays, they're running them on a backdoor to the front of the rim. That was an excellent pass and a strong move.
It's Brian Oliver. Scott with his own rebound. And Dennis Scott.
Nice strong move that time. That's Scott's 4th offensive rebound. And what I like about it, the shot is there. He's missing it right now. Be interesting to see if he keeps taking it. I think he will.
Reed double team down low. Georgia Tech conscious of Reed, who had 15 first half points. Williams off the mark. Bucknall slapped out by Dennis Scott.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He corrected himself. See, the offensive player, when that ball hit out of bounds, it went back off the defensive player standing out of bounds before it hit the floor. Now watch this. Here's the air ball. The ball comes right over here. Here's your rebound. Now, as we get the slap away, as the ball's going out, now watch what happens. As it hit off the offensive player, back off the defensive player, the ball is not out of bounds until it hits either the man or the floor.
Good alert plays. We'll take a look at both head coaches looking on intently. A chess match going on. And the officials getting the possession arrow straight. And Bucknall goes up high for the rebound.
Well, Bucknell went right over the top of the blockout man to get that. Now, that's the old story of when the shot goes up, you must see the ball, and more important, get to that closest big man.
Williams calling for the ball on the inside. This is Ramzino Smith. And Bucknall with yet another rebound. No one is blocking him out.
See, once again, over the back.
And look who knocks the ball away. Bucknall.
You know, it isn't like Georgia Tech isn't trying. I mean, they're working. They're really working hard.
And Bucknall again.
3 in a row.
You can't give Carolina this many opportunities, but Tech lucked out as J.R. Reed traveled in the middle. Near the conclusion of today's game, Hubie Brown and I will select a Chevrolet player of the game from each team. Chevrolet donates a $1,000 scholarship to the General Scholarship Fund of each school. So Georgia Tech comes away, escapes on that series, and Hammonds can't get the roll. Nice. And Reed takes it away.
That was a strong move by Hammonds on Reed, see. Reed is not going to contest him. If I'm Hammonds, I keep taking him right to the front of the rim with all my stuff.
Dennis Scott with the rebound.
I'd say that Oliver is really something on the offensive glass.
Scott from three-point land.
There he is.
His own rebound again.
Yes.
And Dennis Scott makes makes it a 2-point game. Carolina on top. 16:49 remaining in the second half.
See, they're getting their best shot. Unfortunately, they just can't make the three. But that's going to open up. And at the other end, Renzino Smith is getting the three.
And the lob attempt to J.R. Reed in heavy traffic goes off of Carolina. This is
right now, J.R. Reed is feeling some frustration. They are almost playing 3 people on him. The guards are packed it in and fronting him, and every time he's getting it now or trying to catch the lob in traffic, you know, he's trying a little bit too hard right now. Just back off it and let it come to you. Nice pass.
Hammonds.
See, down in that area, James, J.R. Reed is not contesting Hammonds. Hammonds can make that catch anytime that he wants to and go strong to the basket.
So Georgia Tech has tied the ball game at 44 apiece. And don't forget, third-round coverage of the Phoenix Open will be coming your way at the conclusion of this game between Carolina and Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech in the zone.
Lebo.
That time Carolina picked the top guard in the zone. Lebo just came right off it as if it were a man-to-man. Right now they have Scott Williams on Hammond down inside.
This is Farrell. And Farrell taking it to the hoop is fouled by Scott Williams.
Well, he really elevated on a strong move when he came off of that. Now, just watch here. Now, watch that strength action right there. He had a clear move to the basket. Unfortunately, the referee blocked our view on the replay, but he was hit while he was in the air that time. Not a malicious move. It was a strong move by a defensive player trying to come for a shot block.
And Coach Crimmins, understandably, a little concerned about his leading scorer as he's yelling to make certain that he's okay. Farrell came down hard on his back and was holding his lower back as he was down on the floor.
The reason why you need Farrell if you're Bobby Crimmins, he shoots 53% from the floor. He's a 76% foul shooter. And the most important factor, he is your leading rebounder at 6.5 a game.
He's 16 points under his per-game average. That's his 4th point of the game. Farrell has certainly answered the critics this year with his play. Critics who said he was very inconsistent. He's been anything but this season. Farrell. His second free throw brings Tech to a 46 tie with Carolina. Brings us to our second tie of the game this afternoon, 46 apiece. And Hubie, a different story, second half field goal percentage.
Well, the North Carolina 20% by Georgia Tech packing it in their man-to-man and in their 2-3 matchup zone. What is happening is they're forcing Renzino Smith and the other people to hit the jump shot from 17 to 20 feet. And up until now, they've not been able to do that. Now, Georgia Tech is in there 2-2-1 right now. They're going to force Carolina to go down in strong.
And Bucknall with the easy shot, but is tapped in by Scott Williams. And Williams is tapped in. Gives Carolina a 2-point lead.
That's luck at a bounce. But I like what Bobby Crimmins is doing. They're giving a different look. See, every time that ball goes to the wing, Carolina is in a trap on the wing area.
And Smith misses the layup, but gets his own rebound. This is Reed. He won't miss.
You know, people are starting to get gun-shy in there right now because everyone is going for the shot block. Guys do not know where the defensive player is coming from. You know, we've seen a number of easy shots missed so far today.
A 50-46 lead by Carolina. 14:40 remaining in the second half. This is Scott for the three. He's got it.
See, I like his nerve and his courage. He dares to be good. He's only a freshman, and he wants that shot.
If there's anything, Coach Crimmins thinks he's a little too unselfish. He wants him to take charge a little more.
Well, they're very pleased with his passing ability. He's right there in assists. And then the fact that he makes such a high percentage of his three is a major bonus. They even use him at a guard position at times. At 6'8".
Ball knocked out of bounds by Farrell. It's expected at the rate that Dennis Scott is going that by the end of the season, he will have scored more from three-point land than the entire Georgia Tech team did last season. Lebo taking it out of bounds for Carolina. Lebo, three-pointer. Scott on the rebound.
Nice.
Partially deflected by J.R. Reed, and he comes up with the rebound, but he's called for traveling.
Well, naturally, the building wants the contact. As J.R. Reed came off of there, once again, Oliver on the baseline, reaching in and grabbing, forced J.R. Reed to lose his balance and go to the floor.
Dean Smith has gone a longer stretch in the second half without substituting along the front line. This is Scott, three-pointer. Scott Williams, the sophomore, with the rebound. This is Ranzino Smith.
Oh. See, they're coming harder now. Even though the shot is there, it's the pressure of the game. And as you move towards the 40 minutes and the conclusion, the pressure mounts. It's not as easy as in the early part of the game to hit those threes.
The first substitution along the front line for Dean Smith. Pete Chilcutt in for Scott Williams, and Rick Fox replacing Ranzino Smith.
Big win for St. John's over Seton Hall.
In for Georgia Tech, Anthony Sherrod. Lebo. Scott with yet another rebound. Scott has 10 rebounds on the afternoon, so he's doing it everywhere.
Well, interesting stat on Lebo is he's coming into this game only shooting 44%. And I think the fact that he's moved from second guard to point guard is definitely affecting his shot.
And Lebo is going to be whistled for the foul. And Hubie, to carry that point a bit further, Lebo having to move from the number 2 guard to the point guard, perhaps thinking more as opposed to playing naturally.
Well, he also has a knee injury, and even though they don't anticipate surgery in the future, it has made him, you know, hesitate a little bit. He doesn't have the explosion off the shot. What I like, though, he's leading the league in fewest turnovers. And when you think about it, it's kind of an amazing figure when you take a second guard and move him to the point position, and he only has 3 turnovers to date in the league.
And Tommy Hammonds ties the ball game at 50 apiece. Tommy Hammonds averaging 18 points a game and 6 rebounds.
I like his quickness today in the lane. He hasn't forced one shot. Every shot that he takes has been strong.
And
right now, Georgia Tech right now in a 2-3 zone.
Third round coverage of the Phoenix Open will follow this game between Carolina and Georgia Tech.
See, Carolina keeps looking for that skip pass from one side of the floor to the other, to either Lebo or Ranzino Smith. But right now, Lebo is passing up the shot.
Tech nursing its first lead of the game since 3-0 was the score. Their first basket of the game. Reed. Carolina crashing the boards. Oliver continuing to do a nice job rebounding.
Reed got himself behind the backboard that time, James. Didn't read the defense. Ended up with a poor percentage shot.
And Georgia Tech looking to pad their 1-point lead. Scott off the mark. J.R. leading the break. Fox. Probably a case of overpassing. He had the shot. And Buck Hall misses badly.
There it is. That's there.
And a charging foul is called on Brian Oliver.
Bobby Cremins giving us a little dance. See, that pass is there all game long. See, Oliver hesitates a little bit. It's definitely a charge. The contact happened before the release of the ball, so the basket does not count.
College basketball in the first and second round.
It's the same old line I fall for every time. Just as good, only cheaper. So, it's 5 minutes before the market closes. I'm on the phone, waiting for it to ring, watching my hair turn gray. Waiting. I can't get through.
Without AT&T, you're twice as likely to...
A hustling Georgia Tech team has a 1-point lead over the Tar Heels, 51-50, and Hubie, J.R. Reed was dominating in the first half with 15 points. He's only got 2 in the second half, and we've got 11:35 remaining.
Well, I think they're having difficulty getting him the basketball where he can do the most damage. Right now, Georgia Tech showing us that 2-2-1 now. You know, it's making Carolina slow down and get out of their rhythm.
This is King Rice. And Rice yet to be effective from the outside. Neal on a break. Smartly. I was about to say Smartly pulls it up when he forced it.
Yeah, he forced the pass. All he had to do was just pull up on the dribble that time and allow the 2 trailers to form where they wanted to go in the post area. Georgia Tech again back in their trap. 2-2-1.
King Rice yet to score from the field or at all for Carolina to keep this Georgia Tech defense honest. 10:56 remaining. The Yellow Jackets on top by 1.
Right now they're backpacking it in a 2-3 zone. See, they're going to give you that shot, especially Rice.
Neal with the steal of the pass intended for Reed. This is Oliver. And Oliver scores on the fast break for Tech.
If they'll just keep looking up the floor in transition, it is there.
And this matches Tech's biggest lead of the game by 3. Smith.
See, J.R. Reed is catching the ball too far off the lane right now and behind the basket to do any damage.
Ranzino can't find the mark, and Dennis Scott is going to be whistled for the foul going over the back of Scott Williams.
Well, here we have an example of looking up the floor and finding the free people. There is an excellent bounce pass. Craig Neal took the defense to the left, and then when the defense moved, they had too much ground to cover when he made the bounce pass to the right lane.
Pete Chilcutt in, replacing J.R. Reed. J.R. Reed again with only 2 points and over 9 minutes of action in the second half.
Until Carolina hits the perimeter jump shot, Georgia Tech is going to stay in deep and choke off the inside game. Lebo and Ranzino Smith must get it done.
Ranzino finally hits from the outside. Prior to that, he had missed 6 straight shots from the field. That ties the ball game again for the 3rd time, 53-53. Hammonds quiets the Carolina crowd.
Well, that's the way to quiet the run and jump defense also when they play on the top side. Look down inside and go strong to the basket. Get your shot, your high percentage shot.
And Craig Neal almost with the second steal. Chilcutt throws it away. And don't forget to check out the season's premiere of golf here on CBS, the Phoenix Open. As we take a look at the leaderboard, and certainly if some of the Carolina fans could see this, one of their own, Davis Love III, is leading. And Chip Beck, also from North Carolina, both doing very well. J.R. Reed is back into the ball game as Dean Smith couldn't waste any time. And Tech calls a timeout. Tech has a 2-point lead with 9:09 remaining. CBS Sports coverage of NCAA basketball will continue after this word from your local station.
By U.S. Armed Forces, it's a great place to start. United Airlines, rededicated to giving you the service you deserve. Come fly in the friendly skies. And by Bud Light, everything else is just a light.
Live in Chapel Hill at the Dean Dome, the Yellow Jackets of Georgia Tech lead Carolina by 2. And Hubie, we've got to give Bobby Crimmins and Perry Clark credit for the halftime defensive adjustments.
They have taken away the lob pass that Carolina had in the first 10 minutes of this game against the zone, down inside the painted area. They've done an excellent job of choking everything off and forcing Carolina to make the outside shot. Unfortunately, Ranzino and Lebo cannot get in a steady rhythm.
Tommy Hammonds. This is Craig Neal. Neal's played a real steady floor game. Inside to Hammonds. He goes up strong. And Tommy Hammonds power moves on J.R. Reed.
That time, Tommy Hammonds made just an excellent quick move, and his base, he was so low to the floor that he had the big man trying to steal the ball from the top. Once he made his catch, he just took it right into the face of J.R. Reed, forcing a foul.
Chilcutt replaces Scott Williams, who was assessed a foul. That was the 4th personal foul on Scott Williams. Tommy Hammonds was given a weightlifting set by his stepfather when he was a junior in high school, and little did he know how big an ally that would be to him at the collegiate level. He went from being 6'6" and 175 as a junior to 6'9", 217 now, and he needs it playing in the post. And Hammonds converts 1 of 2.
All right, here they come again in their trap. They're really doing a nice job in this.
And Craig Neal is called for his 2nd personal foul.
See, not only are you trying to slow a team up when you do this, but what you're trying to do is take them out of what they practice every day, their familiar spots of running their half-court offense, and make them beat the trap and play 3-on-2, 2-on-1, 4-on-3 basketball. And I think that they're doing a superb job with their quickness. Right now, they're back in their 2-3, packing it in low, below the foul line.
And all of that has helped Tech to a 3-point lead with 8:19 remaining in the second half. Lebo from 3-point land. He can't find the range.
Look at that.
And good hustle by Craig Neal.
That was a guard who came from the top of the circle all the way down to the baseline to get that loose ball.
The Tar Heels 4 of 16 from 3-point range. This is Farrell. And Farrell twisted his ankle on that drive to the hoop.
See, we brought out a point in the first half, and that was that we thought that Georgia Tech could take Carolina off the dribble, whether they took it from the wing or the top of the circle. And what it is doing, it is forcing the Carolina people to foul or also to come on their traps, which are opening up other people for better shots. I like the aggressiveness, the thinking of the perimeter people of Georgia Tech. They are not sitting back passive. They are not allowing the 21,000 people to intimidate them, and they're gaining the confidence from their feisty defense to play aggressive offensively.
We said at the top they came in very confident, and they're playing that way right now as Farrell makes it a 4-point lead, the biggest lead of the game for the Yellow Jackets. Bobby Crimmins had to live all summer with the thought of a poor last season by his standards, as Farrell nails the 2nd free throw, but he's limping noticeably on that ankle. We'll keep an eye on Dwayne Farrell.
Well, they're still in their 2-3 zone. They're coming out a little higher right now.
What can Carolina do to make the adjustment?
Well, you've got to get the ball down inside and then kick out to bring these guys in for closer shots. See, that's a confidence builder right now, not only for Ranzino himself, but for the rest of the team. They've got to get the building back in the game where the building becomes a plus.
Well, that shot brings Carolina back within 2. Only Dennis Scott takes a 3-pointer and misses. Chilcutt with the rebound.
There you go.
And JR goes up with the power move. As you said, they had to get the ball down low, and there was a reason why.
Well, as soon as you hit 1 or 2 3-pointers, the guards must come out and play you. That opens up the inside play to be played one-on-one, and that was just a beautiful move. Now, here's a young man who never really takes a bad shot, J.R. Reed. He gave you 3 moves that time before he released the basketball into a foul situation.
And he knew that one was off the moment he let it go, as you heard him indicate such.
He struggled today on the line, James.
Wow. And he misses both. So J.R. Reed with a chance to tie the ball game misses both. He's only 3 of 8 from the free throw line.
All right, Carolina right now sitting in a straight 2-3 zone. Now in the first half, the foul line area opened up for the easy shots for Georgia Tech. Let's see what happens now.
At 6'8", Dennis Scott certainly enjoys a height advantage shooting from that 3-point range over Ranzino Smith at 6'3", and this is Scott from 3-point land. Reed, the rebound.
They have numbers here, 4 on 3.
And Reed on his own.
What a big-time came up and surveyed the situation.
Farrell gets the tap in to put Georgia Tech back on top by 2. Under 6 minutes remaining.
As soon as Hammonds touched that ball, there were 3 white shirts around him, opening up Farrell on the offensive board.
Ranzino Smith has it knocked away. This is Craig Neal, one-on-one with Lebo.
Yes. There Ryan Oliver. The old pesky guy himself, Oliver. He's around that rim all the time. He never takes it for granted that you're going to make a shot.
Back to a 4-point lead for Tech.
Good call.
Scott Williams comes in for the Tar Heels.
And you really like the play of Brian Oliver.
Well, I like him because he plays bigger than his size. He's not afraid of... Here's a strong move. Now watch this. Here it comes off. There he is right there. Now, that was a difficult play because he came with his left hand to make that shot.
And that was Brian Oliver's 8th rebound of the game as Craig Neal is looking for the wall.
Out of control, James. Came down in there, crossed over, and lost his balance. And you got to give the defensive man the credit for taking away the lane on him to force him into that travel.
5:15 remaining. Carolina trailing by 4. And looking to find Williams and Reed on the inside.
Well, I think the coaching staff would much rather have had J.R. Reed shoot that shot that time. He tried to pass down for an easier shot.
Ranzino Smith off the mark. Scott with the rebound. His 11th of the game. Dennis Scott showing the versatility that Coach Crimmins says he definitely has. 62-58. Georgia Tech on top. 4:43 remaining. And you have to go back 56 games for the last time that North Carolina lost 2 games in a row. That was during the '86 season to Duke and Maryland University.
Watch that 5 seconds.
Good pass. Farrell. He connects.
I tell you, he loves going in there. Now, he was sandwiched that time by Williams and Reed and still got the shot off.
Farrell with his 11th point. Lebo for 3.
Right now, Carolina needs Lebo, Smith, and Reed to take over this game. These are their prime-time people.
Williams with the rebound.
That shot was rushed. It wasn't shot. It rolled off his hand.
Lebo for 3.
Georgia Tech with 3:20 to go. All they have to do is just regroup here now.
The NBA All-Star Game, next Sunday.
We're not a company, but outstanding people come to us every day. People who want to make a contribution to a team and do work that really counts. People eager to see new places, do the unusual, and find the unusual. People who become your friends for life. People just like you. We're not a company. We're your country. We're the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, the Army. We're the Armed Forces. It's a great place to start.
We'll run a light here.
Ask for Bud Light. The light beer with the first name and taste.
Let me know when you're ready for another round.
Because everything else is just the lighter.
It's time to fly, and United Airlines announces some of the lowest fares in the sky. Fly these low fares with only 2 days advance purchase to over 150 cities coast to coast. Tickets are non-refundable, and travel must be completed by May 20th. These fares may not be available for every flight, and significant restrictions apply. United, rededicated to giving you the service you deserve. Come fly the friendly skies.
James Brown along with Hubie Brown and Tim Brandt. We've got a good one down here in Chapel Hill. It's a tie ball game at 64 apiece. Dwayne Farrell, with only 2 points in the first half, has come back. He's got 9 in the second half. And Georgia Tech has fought back and played a good ball game. Hubie, what do you like mostly about what Carolina's done to fight back into it?
Well, I think now that Carolina's showing you a perimeter game, there's a big question for Bobby Crimmins. Does he stay in low to try to continue to choke off J.R. Reed, who only has 4 points this half, or does he move out now and put a little pressure on Ransino Smith and Lebo? And Lebo, 3 of 8 from three-point range. His second straight three-pointer of the second half has the ball game tied. This is Oliver. And Oliver making something happen going to the basket. See, every time that Carolina traps you on the wing and you look for that diagonal pass like they just made here to Oliver, you are basically in a one-on-one situation. You can take the outside shot or you can drive to the basket. Oliver's personality is, I'm going in and dunking.
And Oliver's free throw breaks the tie. And it's back to a 2-point lead for Georgia Tech. Brian Oliver.
All right, right now, Georgia Tech back in a zone, and they're giving now a 3-2 look. It's the first time. It's a high 3-2 look. Now they're sitting back inside. They're not going to play Reed, but you see this allows them to match up better with Lebo and Ransino Smith. See, they're calling out right now on this ball reversal to get with Smith. That's good. See, that allows them to match up better. Very, very smart move by Bobby Crimmins.
But that also leaves some open spots in the middle.
Yeah, but
like
that's okay. That's all right. You have to give up something now. You can't take away everything.
Spoken like a true coach.
Oh, well, you know, give credit where credit's due. You know, we don't have chopped liver here. We have a lot of talent. There's an awful lot of NBA prospects on both teams here.
That foul whistled to Brian Oliver, his 4th personal foul. This is Lebo for 3.
See, by Oliver gambling to intercept that pass, he opened up that corner for that shot.
Lebo's 3rd straight three-pointer gives Carolina a 1-point lead with 2:15 remaining in the contest.
Georgia Tech must keep coming into that foul line area to make Carolina guard him.
Hammonds with the rebound.
Yeah.
He scores and is fouled. So Tom Hammonds, with his 23rd point of the afternoon, scores and is fouled with an opportunity to give them a 1-point lead.
Now watch, here it is right here. Now Hammonds comes out of this. There goes your strong move. Hammonds has been consistent the entire afternoon in playing big in the normal offense and then getting on the boards when they needed it. And more important, carrying this team from an offensive standpoint.
His 24th point gives Tech a 69-67 lead with under 2 minutes remaining.
Right now, Georgia Tech in a man-to-man, giving you a different look now.
Reed.
See, this is so tough for Georgia Tech to do. No one guy in this gym can play J.R. Reed one-on-one. Because once he makes that catch, he's so talented that he goes right or left. He has the hook, he has the jumper, and he has the drop step moves. And that was a beautiful, quick drop step.
And Georgia Tech with fouls to give, a smart foul as they're still 1 away from the penalty. The foul was whistled against Tom Hammonds, his first. This is Lebo.
The same play that they ran the other night against Wake Forest. Now, Lebo's knocked these 2 in. I'm kind of surprised that they were not thinking that that's where they would go.
4 straight three-pointers for Jeff Lebo, and Carolina on top by 1.
Georgia Tech, just take your time and stay with what you do best. Got to go inside out now.
Ryan Oliver with a big hoop to put Tech back on top by 1.
Oliver is playing a sensational game.
And Dean Smith decides to call timeout with 1 minute remaining. So Georgia Tech, not rolling over, leads it by 1. Georgia Tech leading Carolina by 1. 1 minute left. Coach, the vital statistics.
Well, right now we have Georgia Tech with only 1 timeout. That's a negative for them. Both teams are going to be shooting the penalty on the next foul, so it doesn't make a bit of difference there. The pressure is on Georgia Tech right now. Which defense do you come out in? Do you come out in a 2-3 collapse? Do you come out in a 3-2 where you match up better on Lebo or Ranzino Smith? Or do you try to play the man-to-man? But then the major negative is, can you guard J.R. Reed in a low post one-on-one?
What would you do?
I'd come out in a zone. That's just me, okay? Now here we come. Let's see what happens. They've got
Carolina with the ball, 56 seconds remaining.
Right now they're giving you a box-and-1 situation on Lebo.
And Lebo for 3. How about that? 5 straight. Georgia Tech can take the last shot. There's a 1-second difference between the game clock and the shot clock.
Plenty of time to get a good shot and then an offensive rebound. You've got to go early enough to give yourself a chance to hit at least 1 or 2 offensive boards. We're down to 18 seconds right now.
And Carolina's on top by 2.
Remember, Georgia Tech has 1 timeout left. We are now inside of 10 seconds. They're waiting a little bit too long right now. They're down to 5.
And Bobby Crimmins agrees with you as he screamed at Craig Neal, why didn't you call timeout sooner? We'll see what happens when we come back.
Hey, I have to get ready for the party too, you know.
I'm kind of sick. All right, North Carolina right there took another timeout. They wanted to see what Georgia Tech was going to do and how they were going to set up. Now, in that timeout, you say, why was that bad to allow the clock to get down to 5 seconds? Well, most coaches have a philosophy that they're going to allow the clock, when you have a timeout left, to run the clock down to 10 to 15 seconds. They'll call a timeout, then they'll take the ball out on the side after they talk about strategy. All right, unfortunately there, the point guard allowed the clock to get the ball and the clock down to 8 seconds down to 5. Now, under a normal situation, you never want the clock to get inside of 6 seconds before you make a move, because 6 seconds gives you a chance to make your offensive move, whether they are in zone or man-to-man, read it, get a good shot, and then get on the offensive boards. Now, what's the negative? With 5 seconds to go, Georgia Tech has no timeouts left. That's number 1. That's the number 1 negative. They must get the ball inbound. The 2 prime guys, Bobby Crimmins told us yesterday, they are going to go to Farrell or they are going to go to Hammond. Now, the problem is, with 5 seconds, you've got to get the ball in bounds. You have no timeouts left. The next thing is you can only take what the defense gives you, and you can't get it sometimes to what you really want.
And don't forget, 3rd round coverage of the Phoenix Open coming up after the exciting conclusion of this game here. Tech with the ball. 5 seconds remaining in the contest. They trail by 2.
All right, Carolina is man-to-manning, and they're keeping a defensive guy back for the lob.
And Rick Fox knocks it out of bounds.
1
and
second.
1 second did tick off the clock.
1 second. Okay, now, will they set up the same play? All right, they're going back into that same type of a set now. Now, remember, what's the difference, 4 or 5 right here? Bobby Crimmins is making a substitution. He's putting in another perimeter shooter here now.
Anthony Sherrod in the game replacing Craig Neal.
All right, so what you do now, all right, now they're discussing the players on this side. They're going to run the exact same play that they just ran before. They're trying to back pick and 3 people on the baseline side coming to the ball. Now, Carolina changes their strategy. They put Scott Williams on the ball.
And Fox knocks it out of bounds again, and Rebo recovers for Carolina. Carolina wins it. Here's the play that sealed the victory for North Carolina.
Right now you're seeing Carolina's denying every pass, and there was the hand. The hand right there. That was just great defense, pressuring the people coming to the ball that time. And then a terrific move by Scott Williams, and there's your reaction. A very, very disheartened coach whose ball club played so spirited. And there you go, Dean with the hands up saying, once again, tough to beat us here, baby.
Carolina moves to 24-2 in the Dean Dome. We'll be back in just a moment.